Hey everyone, it's Chris Simpson speaking in your ears, and welcome to the StageLeft Podcast with Jess Greenfield of the Kondoors. Genuinely one of the best episodes ever coming up. Jess arrived in an Uber directly from a rehearsal with Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds, and she even played us a few new tunes, Noel songs, that she's been providing backing vocals on in the studio. It was great to hear, and then we undertook quite a reflective and revealing interview. Jess is an absolute legend. For other episodes featuring Russ Pritchard, Mikey Rowe and Gem Archer of Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds, go to the stageleftpodcast.com, where you'll find all episodes including Paul Gallagher on Growing Up with Liam and Noel, Christian Madden and Dan McDougall being keyboardist and drummer in Liam's band, as well as Tony Visconti, Steve Cropper, Stewart Lee, Damon Minchella, Richard Fortas of Guns N' Roses, and Aziz Ibrahim on his time in the Stone Roses. Jess is going to be playing live in our lounge in London for the second time in October. Get in touch if you want to come, just DM us or contact us at stageleftnights@gmail.com. So enjoy the interview. This is a great one. This is Jessica Greenfield. Okay, welcome to the StageLeft Podcast, lifting the veil on the music industry by telling the stories of some of the unsung heroes behind the success. The podcast exists to provide free educational content to young musicians entering an increasingly complex industry. With arts funding being stripped back globally and tuition fees rocketing, we aim to provide wisdom and guidance from those who've recorded and played live with the greats. Today we are joined by the outrageously soulful voice of Jessica Greenfield of the Kondoors and Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. And Jess and her husband Gavin have actually been with us before one of our StageLeft nights here in London, where they played a stripped back set to just 7 lucky fans. We all had amazing food cooked by the award-winning chef Dovila J, and then we all got drunk and were spellbound by their mesmerising performance. For future StageLeft Nights events, get in touch on social media or stageleftnights@gmail.com. We've got loads coming up, including James Walsh from Star Sailor on June the 8th, and it's a special night, and genuinely, Jess and Gavin's performance was so moving it actually reduced some of the people in the room to tears. Not me though, I remained stoic and just cried on the inside. Today we'll be discussing Abbey Road Studios. We'll be discussing recording in Nashville, singing harmonies with the Chief, playing Andy Murray's wedding, and how does one go about compartmentalising work from home life when you're in a band with your husband. So she fell right under our spell. It's Jess Greenfield from the Kondoors. Thanks for joining us today, Jess. How's it going?
Hello, nice to see you again. It's going really well, thanks.
Good stuff. Talk us through your day. So you've just literally come from a rehearsal for the upcoming High Flying Birds rehearsal, yeah?
Yes, day 2 of our week-long rehearsals, and it's been really nice. It's been like no time has passed, and there's been quite a few months that have gone by where we haven't toured, and it was like kind of going back to school but without the sort of dread of the homework, we've all done our homework, but
yeah.
It's just been really nice, and all our friendships are that much deeper, and it's just been lovely.
And so you get a message to you saying these are the songs you've got to learn, and,
yeah.
and how do you go about doing that? What's your process?
We get a message. We've got a band WhatsApp group, and
really,
yeah,
wow,
yeah, it's a great group, and we.
Are the notifications hidden? Or?
No, bing, bing, bing. Yeah, otherwise
okay.
it would go a bit mad. But we got a list of like a provisional set list.
Yeah,
and then I go about learning by just constantly listening to the song, constantly listening, hearing the harmonies, and then sometimes I write the lyrics down. But I find actually the best way I learn is in the car.
Really?
Yep. I put it on and I put it on loop and I keep listening to it and I keep listening to it, and it goes in. Eventually, it just goes in. But I never write stuff down on the iPad and have it there at the rehearsal. I just have to learn it before. Otherwise, I rely on it, and it's just it gets in the way of me enjoying it.
How do you divvy up the backing vocals? So do you learn all the backing vocals that are on the records and then you divvy it up in the rehearsal room, or how does that work?
I made sure I knew all of the parts, and then I kind of figured it out when we start the song. And there might be bits on new songs where there's like a choir, and I think, well, that could be probably done on a pad.
Mm-hmm.
I might sound stupid just singing that on my own. So it's probably the bit above the chorus that he's singing or whatever. And because I've worked with him for quite a bit of time now, I kind of know what he likes. So, yeah.
You can kind of second guess what
I can kind of second guess, yeah.
And new stuff then. So you have been recording on new stuff, I believe, and
yes.
You are rehearsing it at the moment. So tell us about that process. Is that exactly the same? So you get a version of those songs and you just replicate what you've done on the record? How does that work?
Yeah. Well, because I've sung on 2 tracks now,
Cool.
which is just like mind-blowing.
And that's the first time you've done that, isn't it, for Noel? Yeah. So singing, that's amazing.
Yeah. The first time was at Abbey Road, and because I'd recorded it, I knew it quite well. Once I've recorded something, it just kind of stays in my brain. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't scared about those 2 tracks. But there are other songs which I didn't do backing vocals on. And I just kept listening. And
with those parts that you were singing in the studio, you was Noel singing those parts to you, and then you having to replicate them, or how did that work?
What happened? He'd already done a guide vocal, and so I just copied what he did. And there were some bits where he said, "Could you double track me?" or "Can you sing a harmony above that?" So some bits I just knew what to do. I'm good with harmony, so.
So you just played me a little piece of the new record, and your voice is really prominent on one of the songs, which is amazing. Noel's voice sounds really different on it. And tell us about. So I think you've been recording at both Rack Studios and Abbey Road.
And Abbey
right?
Road, yeah.
So how easy is that process to transfer from one to the other? Is that quite straightforward?
I think it is because, especially in today's age with all the technology and stuff, you just get a drive and you take it over. I mean, it might be more complicated than that. But I think that's what happens. Both quite small studios, but it's nice because it's kind of cosy and all the gear's set up. The crew set the stuff up, and then so I don't think it's that difficult. How
do the 2 studios differ? So I went to Rack Studios a couple of weeks ago to record an episode with Isabel Gracefield. I've not actually been to Abbey Road. How does that differ as a venue? How do the 2 places differ?
Well, the studio we recorded in at Abbey Road is called the Gatehouse.
Right.
And that's just kind of round, you go out of the door and then you kind of go outside, and it's like a little added on bit. And it's really nice. It's kind of homely and cosy, and it's not like you're playing in one of the main studios at Abbey Road, so you don't feel the same pressure. Mm-hmm. And we once did a live thing for Spotify, I think, at Abbey Road.
Yeah.
And I was shitting myself, basically.
Why?
It was a live recording in the main studio where the Beatles recorded. I think it was. Yeah. God, I'm going to get slated now.
No, I think you're right.
I think it was, and it's just all of those thoughts of all the history that's gone on there, and you just kind of feel like, I don't want to fuck this up. Like, this is like a historical room. I'm here because I'm supposed to be good at my job, so I can't be making mistakes. So I had this voice just sort of like constantly, like, don't fuck it up. And it adds the pressure on,
So it's the imposter syndrome. Have you heard of the imposter syndrome a little bit that we all get all the time? Like I sit here and think, when am I going to be rumbled with that?
It's
I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And so we all get that. So that's kind of a very normal thing. What would you do to kind of quieten that voice that you just mentioned?
I had that voice for about the first half of the whole tour with Noel. And to quieten it down, I think, to be honest, it's just knowing that I can do it and I'm confident enough and I don't make mistakes and Noel's happy with what I do. And the more I saw that and the more I believed that, the more that voice started to quieten down. And I do stuff like yoga and I do stuff like meditation, So
feedback from both Noel and maybe other people as well, telling you that you're doing the right thing
And hearing it back, sometimes I'll watch live gigs to make sure it looks good, it sounds good. And I scrutinise what I do quite a bit. I'm a perfectionist,
Perfectionism is an interesting area because...
it doesn't really exist, does it? But
because there's some interesting studies that are done around that it's kind of advised anyone who's a perfectionist should stop what they're doing when they're 80% happy with something, because that remaining 20% doesn't necessarily exist, and you'll put all that effort into doing that remaining 20%, and you'll never get to that 100%. You might as well put... And 80% is probably good enough as it is. Okay, so you went from playing some like the gigs you were doing with the Kondoors, like some quite high profile gigs as well. But it was obviously a very quick leap that you went when you joined Noel from playing kind of like smaller gigs to playing to like 70 or 80,000. Like I saw you just before you went to South America, and like that was big crowds, right? Brazil, Chile, Argentina, right? So how does that experience, having done this for a number of years, that must have been incredible going from playing the smaller gigs to like, fuck, I've actually done it. What surprised you about that? Having always probably wanted to get to that level, what's different? What surprised you about that, playing those bigger gigs?
What's different? I think the more people there are, the less intimidating it is, and the more like a dream it feels, and you kind of, it's just mind-blowing. It's just absolutely mental. Especially playing those songs that are just iconic to millions of people that I grew up with, you know, that I loved, to actually be there next to Noel doing it. I mean, it's literally like waking up in some kind of weird dream. But the smaller gigs that I've done with Gavin and that I did for years before, you know, I started my career doing corporate events, weddings, bar mitzvahs, you name it. I've done a gig at it, and then, you know, playing other festivals and stuff with other people, but not on that scale. So I'd had some experience. I've had experiences of lots of different crowds, but something about playing a huge crowd. I mean, yeah, you do. You feel like you've made it. You feel like, well, I can't top this really. I can't, you know.
Do you lose yourself more in it because of the lack of scrutiny? So that voice, does that kind of dissipate a bit because of the scale of it, or does it get worse because you think there's more sets of eyes on you?
No, actually, you're right. It does dissipate with the bigger the crowd. When we did some theatres, I think it actually was the start of the whole tour. So in America, we did theatres. And something about the combination of these are the first gigs I was doing, and the crowds are sitting down in a theatre. It's quite formal almost. That was scary. That voice was loud in my head when I started doing those gigs.
And I think the first kind of live performance you did, other than the rehearsals, I'm guessing. Yeah. So you did Jools Holland.
Yeah, that was the first one I did.
Yeah, which was like obviously very, very high profile, kind of lot riding on it. And then I think you went to America and did the Jimmy Fallon show as well, is that right?
Yeah.
So that's like a bit of a baptism of fire that you got there. And tell us your kind of reflecting back on that, kind of what did you learn about yourself in that experience? Because that is a precious situation, having years and years of playing gigs before.
I think actually in that moment I thought, God, I'm really grateful for all of the live gig experience I've had in, how long have I been doing it? Since I was 18, a long time. I thought, God, all those gigs that I moaned about or I had to drive miles to or whatever, they all came together in that moment where I thought, I can do this. I've learnt my stuff. I'm not really fazed by having to do it live. I've got the voice, but I'm not fazed by it too much. Thank you. You know, I'm so grateful for all of those years that I've worked really hard to do live gigs. You know, that's what I do best. And so it was amazing. It was like this, because in fact, right, I'm a really big believer in the law of attraction. I've read The Secret. I've read The Magic, which is like the follow-on book. And in The Magic, you have to write this whole list of goals, right? Yeah. So I had perform at Wembley Arena, do Jools Holland, and loads of other things. And then there it was, and I just ticked them off. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Wow. How long ago did you write those?
About 7 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone goes on about The Secret book. It's Rhonda
Byrne.
Right, okay, yeah. And The Magic is the follow-up to it.
The Magic's the follow-up. It's more practical things you have to do.
Cool. I'll just put Travelling to the Moon on my list tomorrow, and then that's sorted in 7 years' time. And you, so the new stuff, let's talk about the new stuff.
Yeah.
Just heard a little bit of it. Quite electronic. I mean, you played a couple of tracks to us. What's the overall feel? Have you heard every track on the album? Are you performing on every track? Okay, so
I've performed, so far I've done 2. I don't know if he's writing more, he might be.
Mm-hmm.
I might be lucky enough to be asked to do more. And yeah, I'm not sure which songs are going on the album yet. I've heard a few new things, but like you say, they might be B-sides.
And you shot video?
We did. It was very exciting.
It was very exciting.
Yeah.
Why was it exciting? Because you shot other videos, right?
We did. I did one in the Joshua Tree.
Yeah, that's right.
That
Wearing
was
a hat.
Wearing a hat. The director's hat.
Oh, right. Was it? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, that was boiling hot. We all got sunburn.
Yeah.
And we were exhausted, I think, because we've been doing it was like towards the end of the whole tour. But this time it was in a proper studio inside. There's a set. We all had to wear like kind of slightly retro clothes.
Yeah.
And
how'd it compare to this one that you've just done?
this one's the new song is more stylised. The last video being Joshua Tree, obviously it's got that kind of epic vibe, being in the desert or whatever. But this has kind of got a theme, and it's quite funny and it's good.
Cool. And how is taking the recordings into the live setting? So you've only had, so it's just yesterday rehearsing today.
Yeah.
Was it the new ones you're doing today?
The new ones.
Right. Okay. How's that working out? Is it a lot of troubleshooting? Is it the case you do it first time and do you just practice the same song maybe a few times over for half an hour?
Yeah, exactly. So we might do the same song maybe 4 times and do the next one about 4 times. But it's amazing actually how, we get to the room, we haven't played together for months, and everybody just nails their shit and they just know it, and we just play it. Yeah, there's tweaks, whatever, but we just do it, and it sounds great. Especially, this kind of new sound, you'd wonder how people would play it, because it's quite electronic, and it works,
4 years ago this week, we did the first episode of the StageLeft Podcast in Paris, and it was with Mikey Rowe.
Yeah.
So I owe everything to Mikey Rowe. What an absolute legend.
He loves you too.
Oh, that's very kind. Yeah. And I was listening back to it, actually, in preparation for this interview, and it's the first time I listened back to it in quite a while. And there's a really interesting moment where he talks about they just worked on a new song, just him and Noel, for an Irish TV thing. And he said, oh, it's really good. And I went, what's it called? And he went, I can't tell you, and it's Dead in the Water.
Yeah.
It was the first time they'd just done it, and he's just such a lovely man. I wonder if you could tell us about your relationship with him, because you play keyboards as well, so obviously sing backing vocals. Yeah. How does that work between he and you?
Well, Mike is one of my favourite people in the world ever.
Yep.
He is a genius. He is funny. I know if he hears this, he'll be like, "Oh, stop it!" and he'll be going red.
What makes him a genius is quite a strong word, and I've heard that before about him, that he's playing. What makes him a genius? He's
just so on it in so many ways, and musically, he's just. I mean, all these parts on these tracks, all these little intricate parts he's come up with, and he remembers and he plays and he scores out, and he's just got this incredible brain that has an idea and he sees it through and he does it, and nothing phases him. Nothing phases him at all. Seemingly so.
There's a lesson there, because something else he also said is that he's never been kind of found out that he's actually winging it. He says that he's winging it, which is kind of like, well, aren't we all really? So it's just really, really interesting. Like, he's obviously
everyone has their own ways.
He's got a good poker face around, which is really, really interesting. Yeah. And I mean, in regards to the parts you play on keyboards, does it ever come from anyone else in the band, or is it just kind of that's Mikey's kind of area and you work with Mikey and that's it?
Yeah, exactly. So for example, on Beautiful World, there was a specific part that's on the track, and I was just given what I had to do, when I had to play it, and then something like Keep On Reaching, I could be a bit freer with that, but again, it was like, these are the chords, so play that. What other songs? Holy Mountain, that's got a little part, and they're quite embedded in on the tracks, but kind of without them, it doesn't sound the same. So everyone coming together and all the little bits, it all helps to make them sound how they sound live.
Cool. And you mentioned some of the songs that you've been rehearsing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned from the old days, the Master Plan.
Yes.
Genuinely my favourite song of all time. Was the reason I got into that kind of type of music, actually. Just that it was, I could have gone, if it hadn't been for the Master Plan, I could have ended up being a fucking Westlife fan around that time. Do you know what I mean? So thank God for that. And it's going to have the amazing harmony on it, because you're now singing the harmony. Yeah. So when did you first hear that song? Is that, have you known that for years? Oh, you do know it? Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, okay. So you must be enjoying. Did you rehearse it today? Okay, so Noel is kind of known for his attention to detail, and I can imagine what that's like in rehearsal. Can you compare a Kondoors rehearsal to Noel Gallagher's High Flying rehearsal? And how? I mean, it may well be the same, but how?
The only way it's the same is that I'm a real stickler for things being a certain way. Yeah, where Gav's like, man, it's cool, man. Like everyone's just going to be fine. Like we'll all come together and it'll sound great. We don't rehearse very often, because no one's ever around, and I don't have money to pay everyone, every time. So I can't say, right, we've got a week of rehearsals before the gig. We might have a day before the gig, or sometimes a day of the gig, we might have a rehearsal. But how does it compare? Well, everybody nails their parts, and everybody knows the songs, but I would say it's not as professional, because we don't have the techs. We don't have a guitar tech, don't have a vocal tech, don't have a keyboard tech. Everyone lugs all their gear in, and we just do it. We just nail it. But it's different. It's very different. It's probably not as organised.
Tell us about your audition for Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds.
Well, I didn't really have an audition.
Result.
What happened was, I used to sing with this guy called John Ilsley that was in Dire Straits.
Really?
Clang, yeah.
Okay.
In that band was Paul Strangeboy Stacey. And one day, at lunch, Paul said to me, I've been chatting to Noel. Noel's looking for a keyboard player, a female singer that plays keys, right? And I mentioned you. And I played him some stuff. And he liked it. So, would you be up for doing it? What should I tell him? I was like, are you fucking joking? No. Because I knew that Paul had worked with Noel for years. And I'd always thought, I wonder what it's like to work with Noel. And then one day, I got this email from Noel, and it was just like, is this your email? If it is, then I just wanted to make sure before I write you a really long email. Then I got this huge long email from Noel saying what he wanted to do. And I met him at the offices in Marylebone. Mm-hmm. We got on well, and he was just like, do you want to do the tour? That was it.
When you say you got on well,
yeah.
It's quite interesting, because that may have been your audition there, because Noel
I guess
goes
so.
on personality quite
Yeah,
a lot, as
yeah.
well as obviously he trusts Paul's kind of judgment
Judgment.
on your... Yeah. So, I mean, without giving away too much, but what were the types of conversations, and what do you think you did in that situation to nail that audition? Because there may have been other people that...
Yeah. What did we talk about? Well, I think we talked about, where I was from. I'm from Camden. He kind of lived around the area for a while. We talked about Paul. We talked about people in the band, what to expect. And I think he just knew that I had a sense of humour, that I was laid back, that I laughed, at his jokes, because he's a funny guy. Mm-hmm. I think he knew that I was capable because of the people I'd played with. And I guess I was just relaxed, and I was myself. I wasn't like, oh my God, it's really nice to meet you. I was just like, cool. And I told him about this story, that I worked in a shoe shop when I was 17 in Camden High Street. And Noel came in, and I sold him a pair of shoes.
Really? Did you?
Yeah.
What were they?
They were a designer brand at Offspring. I can't remember. They might have been like, was it Fendi? No, it wasn't Fendi. I I can't remember the name of the shoes. It'll come to me.
And did he remember?
No.
He didn't remember the pair of shoes?
He's like, no way, that's fucking hilarious. No way.
Awesome. So it's interesting because it's it's a lot about kind of building rapport with people and getting on with people.
Yeah.
This kind of thing. So maybe that was kind of the audition. Who knows? That's cool. And then obviously first rehearsal. Memories of that?
Memories of that. So I think it was before Charlotte and Audrey had come in.
Yeah.
And I was very nervous. And I walked in, it was at Music Bank, the old Music Bank.
Yeah.
This huge room. And everything set up, everything in its place, all the techs around. And I remember someone had said to me, make sure you say hello to Mickey Winder, Mickey, Noel's guitar tech.
Right.
He's the loveliest guy and he'll look after you. And he did, and he's always been so sweet to me. And I think I got there, I might have even got there first because I was so nervous. I was like, I can't be late, I've got to get there on
First
time. Yeah. And then gradually all the guys came in and everyone was just so welcoming. And, it was odd because it was a different dynamic. They'd never had a woman in the band.
Yeah.
And there was that whole element in my mind, like, how are they going to treat me? Is it going to be weird? Are they going to think I'm in the way? Or, all those kind of thoughts. And they were all really lovely.
And how many rehearsals did you have before Jules Holland? And at what point did Charlotte, if you were the first one in the band then, at what point did Charlotte turn up with the scissors?
I think we did maybe 10 days rehearsals altogether.
Really?
I think so. Maybe it was a week.
Just for Jules, or was that actually rehearsing like the whole?
I think it was kind of in general, maybe to see how it was going, and for Jules Holland. Then we did, the first thing we did, actually, it wasn't Jules Holland, it was a show for Apple at a venue in, oh God, where was it? Bethnal Green.
Yeah.
It was a town hall.
Right, yeah, I remember, yeah. Was it radio or something like that?
It was for Apple Music.
Oh, it was for Apple, sorry, right, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Noel had wanted to get... I remember when I first met him in the office, he said, I'm thinking about getting Charlotte and Audrey to come in and do this one-off show. Mm-hmm. Charlotte does this announcement and Audrey sings on some tunes. So they came in and we rehearsed a little bit and it was fun and whatever. And we did that show and it went really well. And then what happened with the scissors is Noel said to Charlotte, can you play tambourine on this track? And she said, I don't think I can play tambourine on that. I'm not very good on the tambourine. And he said, okay, well, what can you play then? And she said, I play scissors in my other band. And he said, what? Yeah, I play scissors. He was like, wait, what? I play scissors. And he's like, no way. Yeah, like, it goes down really well, everyone loves it. And he said, all right, well, I want you to play scissors on Jules Holland then. She's like, oh, okay. And so she did, and it went viral. And
it went massively
Gem
viral.
called it because when we're on the minibus on the way back, he said, that's going to go viral. And she was like, no. And we were like, nah. He's like, no, it's going to go viral. And it did. It was mental. Like millions of views, that video.
It's like, in the end, it was like a great publicity stunt.
Yeah.
It wasn't probably that by design, but yeah, it was fantastic. Let's talk through your pre-gig routine. Let's say you're playing a really, Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
Right. Big pressure.
Yeah.
You wake up at 8 a.m. and the show isn't till probably like 9, 10 o'clock at night. Talk us through a day like that, or maybe even a festival, something like that, but when you've got a long period between when you kind of wake up and when you've got to perform.
Okay. I suppose, I do have a routine. I naturally wake up at 8:39. I get up, I always do yoga or exercise before I have breakfast. This is sounds really boring, but I do, because it just kind of like gets my body moving.
Yep.
I'm really paranoid about my voice. And so I don't ever drink the night before a gig. In fact, I don't really drink that much at all. Mm-hmm. I don't smoke. So what I might do, I'll have breakfast.
I was going to say, don't go be not drinking the Groucho at that time.
Oh,
Before Hen do, yeah.
Oh, yes. No, I did drink that.
No, I'm joking, yeah.
No, you're right. I don't drink very much. But yeah, so then what I'll do is I'll have breakfast and then I'll just sort of kind of go back to my room, might call my husband, might call my mate or whatever. Then I'll go to the spa, if there's a spa, go to the steam room for like an hour, just because for me steam is amazing and it helps my voice. And then what do? Might watch a bit of telly. might hang out with the guys for a bit, might have some lunch. Then we normally set off around 4, 5, depends if it's a festival, maybe a bit later. Get to the gig, STC, straight to catering.
Nice.
That's what we do. That's a micro special term.
STC.
STC. Go to catering, then we'll go and sound check. Then hang out.
Let's break down the sound check. So I know this obviously varies gig to gig.
Yeah.
At a festival, there's literally no sound check, right?
No.
Okay, so do you have a little warm up in the rehearsal room around an acoustic guitar, singing stuff, or?
No. Well, Noel's got his room where he does his little warm up. Me and Audrey tend to warm up. We've got like an app sometimes we use on our phone.
What's that, singing scales?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll just go to the toilets because it's good acoustics and I'll just belt out some tunes.
I saw Lissy doing the same thing the other day. You know
Oh,
that Lissy?
really?
Yeah, she had
Yeah.
the app and she was going down the up and down. Yeah.
And if I don't get a chance to warm up, that's when I start panicking.
Oh.
Yeah. I've also got a straw that I use. It's called Lux Vox. It's like a rubber straw, and you put it in a bottle of water and you hum through it, but you hum scales whilst blowing bubbles through the water, and it's amazing.
What I don't understand. Why does that help your voice? Because of the liquid in there is moisture?
Because of the bubbles.
Right,
so you're not actually inhaling any water.
Okay.
You're just going and singing through the bubbles. And it means that your vocal cords are connecting, but not in a harsh way. So it's like a controlled way of getting the sound through your vocal cords without them kind of like properly, harshly connecting.
Oh my word.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You should bring that out on stage next to the scissors.
Yeah, I should do.
That's viral for the next album. Okay, and so let's go back to, let's say you do have a sound check. How much are you kind of, who's deciding what, obviously I'm guessing Noel's deciding what the sound check set list is, if you like. I've been to one of the sound checks and it's quite thorough. Will he play kind of songs all the way through for 45 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. So we might have 5 or 6 songs. And we just play those. And
are they chosen because of the different dynamics and stuff
like
that?
I'm sure.
So that's how it works. So you just turn up, do your bit, and
sometimes it might be he just wants to rehearse that song again.
Yeah.
When we did the festival in Bristol we did Paul the song.
I was going to
say
Town Called Malice was rehearsed quite a bit.
We did that at every sound check for quite a while because we wanted to get it right.
Yeah, nice. How was that when Weather Conversation? That must have been cool.
Again, it's just like, well, this is ridiculous. This is another thing probably on the magic list.
Yeah, check that list.
Yeah.
Good old Rhonda. And then so you finish your sound check. That's quite an interesting period, isn't it? So there's going to be kind of 2 or 3 hours, I'm guessing, before you play.
Yeah.
What's happening then?
What happens then after sound check? We will probably hang about backstage. We might sit in the dressing room for a bit. We play some tunes. Noel's got his little system. We listen to tunes. I love eating, so I have more snacks.
Yeah.
After.
Is it tempting, like, just to crack open some beers and maybe I know you've got to protect your voice and that kind of thing, but it's quite a dead time, that 3 hours, isn't it? And it's dead. How can you make it really productive and not affect your
Well, there's loads of really good banter as well, so we end up just chatting, and sometimes if I've got friends or family, I might go and see them for a little bit, and then maybe like 2 hours before I start thinking about getting ready, and I might warm up again, decide what I'm going to wear, talk about what we're going to wear, me, Charlotte and Audrey, because we share a dressing room.
Right.
And then, I always feel my stomach starting to get a bit like...
I was going to say, when does that happen? When's the exciting energy?
For me, it depends on the gig. If my family are there, it's there way before. If it's just a normal festival, maybe like half an hour before. And then for me, it's when... So Angus, the tour manager, will come backstage, will say, intro rolling, and you can hear the... on Fort Knox.
Yeah.
And that's when I start getting like, start getting hyped up. And we put our in-ears in. And then we all walk to the side of the stage. And then there's a little countdown there's a clock, and then he just walks out, and then we all walk out, and it's like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Then you see everyone who's like, oh.
Tell us about the in-ears, because Gem was saying when he came on the podcast, he said that they're a bit of a lifesaver now because it used to damage his ears. Is there ways that people off stage can communicate? Is it a communication tool as well, or is it just the music. I'll tell you why I asked that question, just because we had Richard Forks from Guns N' Roses, and he was saying they had a microphone on stage that they could bypass.
Yeah, voice of God.
Yeah, and into each other's ears, basically, yeah. Like, do you have that kind of setup?
I don't. I almost had that set up, but I don't actually have that. Mike has that set up.
Oh, right.
So he can talk to his tech about if there's anything that he needs to change or if there's something he can't hear. But Noel, who does the monitors, we can just say more of this, less of that. There's a lot of pointing. But normally the sound check sorts all that out. So there's not much of that.
Is it like a digital desk that kind of then those settings are there for every venue that you go into?
Yeah.
Right, okay, so it's, takes half the trouble out of it.
Sometimes the room will be different and it does affect it, and if the crowd's in there, sometimes that can change things. Quite often the sound check will be different to when there's people in.
What's your priority about what you hear personally in your ears to have a good gig? What's important?
For me, I've got to have keys. I've got to have...
Your keys or my keys or both?
Mike's.
Okay.
And mine.
Are you pitching from that then?
I pitch a lot from Mike's keys.
Interesting.
And I pitch a lot from the bass.
Oh, right, okay.
But in general, like a bit of everybody. I have to have Noel's vocal in there because I need to get my harmonies bang on with him.
Yeah.
But for me, the most important thing is I've got my tuning. I've got to have something that's in tune all the time. So for me, keys are really important because they're electronic and they're not going to go out of tune. Drums, because of the tambourine. Got to have kick and snare. Mm-hmm. So they're important to me. And my vocal. So and I like reverb as well.
So Gem's feeling a bit left out now. You literally named everything. No, I'm joking.
Everything.
Everything's got to be in there.
But the most important
priority,
things,
is where you pitch in and
rhythm and pitch. And obviously, I have Gem solos in there. I do. Love you, Gem.
When you went to Chile, Brazil and Argentina, everyone says that part of the world, like the crowd are just like completely different, and you said the same actually. How do each of those differ between each other, or is it just kind of all the kind of same? How did that...
Ooh, the first gig we did in Chile was in quite a, if I remember rightly, in a very random part of Chile. Very small. They hadn't been there before. I can't remember what the name of the place was. But it was kind of in the middle of nowhere, and we had to drive through these kind of shanty towns. And I remember feeling quite upset, actually, that there are people that are living like this, and we were in a nice hotel. And I looked out my balcony, and we were overlooking this slum. And I had real conflicting views. I really struggled with that, actually. But the gigs were amazing. I mean, the crowds are just the most passionate people on earth. And, I often get Instagram messages from people from South America. When are you coming back to Argentina? When are you coming back to Chile? They're just mental. But it's amazing. And they're lovely as well. Lovely people. Just the energy when you're on stage. Sorry. When you're on stage and they're all buzzing off it. It's incredible.
You said in the past you get most nervous, and I don't really like the word nervous because it's got that negative connotation.
Yeah.
You get most excited, perhaps, when either your mum and dad or Gavin are there.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Let's dig deep.
And my mates as well.
And your mates as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why is that? Probably because I want to make them proud, get the violins out, but it's true. One of the biggest strives for me, I think, is making my family proud. And there I am, doing something that's just mental. And, as I've said before, my dad's a musician, so I've always been brought up around music, and I think they're just blown away by it. And so I want it to be good for them. I want it to be good for me. I just want it to be good. I want them to enjoy it, and I guess because I care what they think, I guess.
Can you think of a time, and it could be any gig that you've ever played, that you think, yeah, I know I made them proud that time?
Wembley Arena.
Yeah.
That actually makes me feel emotional thinking about it. Yeah, Wembley Arena. And then when they came backstage, that was amazing. And actually there was a lovely gig we did in Taormina in Italy. And my parents flew out, and my dad never goes anywhere. So it's a really big deal that he came to Italy with my mum. And they all, like after the gig, we went back to the hotel because the backstage area was really small. It was in like these ruins.
Right,
the
wow.
Amphitheatre. It was incredible,
Cool.
incredible. And they all came back to the hotel, and we had this really nice evening. All the band there, we were all having drinks, and it was just lovely for them, just to be around that kind of luxury in that nice hotel. And my parents had never had any money, and you know, for me, it's an incredible thing that they can come to a gig and like, I can say, do you want a drink? Do you want to eat this? Or can I buy you this, Mum? Or it's lovely. It's amazing. I've never had that before.
Have they told you?
Have they told me what?
Yeah, that they're proud of you so
Yeah.
far. Yeah, of course.
My dad finds it hard to say it. But
Yeah, all dads do.
well, of course I am.
Listening, Dad.
Well, of course I am, Jesse.
In 3 words,
Yeah.
I'd like you to describe each of these people.
All right.
Russ Pritchard.
Boss. Boss, mate.
Always, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, that's 2. You got another one for him? What's another word you'd use to describe him?
Great. Amazing. That's 2 words. 3 words.
Gem?
Lovely.
Chris?
Cheeky.
Cheeky, nice. Charlotte?
Bonkers.
Audrey?
Kind.
Mikey?
Oh. Wonderful.
Noel?
Genius.
What Noel don't we see?
There's a really lovely side to him that is caring, and he cares about his family, and he wants things to be right, and he cares about everyone being all right. Actually, I think he wants people to be happy, and there's a lot of goodness there. He's got a really lovely side. Quite gentle in a way.
So I think Noel's critical friend, by the sound of things, is Paul Stacey.
Yeah.
So you always kind of want to avoid, and it's very easy in this situation, to get in kind of a yes man culture. And I think that Strange Boy Stacey is his kind of critical friend, perhaps. Tell us about their relationship and how you got to know Paul, and a bit about him, because he's been involved. You know, I think he played on stuff on Morning Glory, all the way through to Stand on the Shoulders, and then all the way through to kind of now.
Yeah.
Maybe describe their relationship and a bit about Strange Boy.
Well, they've known each other for years, and like you say, back from the Oasis days. And I think Noel has always respected Paul, because with Paul it's all about music, and for Noel it's all about the music. So in that respect they're quite similar. Mm-hmm. And they're real sticklers for parts being right, and they're really into their, you know, old school music, and they're obsessed with music. They're obsessed, and they love that about each other. So when they get together, they take the piss out of each other and they talk about music. And I think Noel loves being around that. I mean, you know, I'm sure Paul can be a pain in the arse. He won't mind me saying that. But, you know, as can everybody. So I think that's why Noel likes having Paul around. And Paul is full of incredible ideas. He has just got the most incredible brain and comes up with all kinds of ideas, all kinds of sounds. And, you know, he's actually a great producer. And if I'm in the studio and I'm singing a part, he'll say, do that again. And because I'm so used to working with Paul, because Paul produced my album, he knows how to talk to me without offending me or upsetting me. I mean, I think I'm quite thick-skinned, but he'll say, "Okay, darling, try that one again. I know you can do it better, whatever." And I respect his judgment, you know, as does Noel. He is great to be around, and he knows his shit. He really knows his shit.
And did you record in Mono Valley? Is
Yeah.
that right? Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, when we booked it, I think it was just before I knew about the gig with Noel.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so funny that then I found out, well, that's where they recorded a load of stuff.
Yeah.
From Definitely Maybe, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Sorry, Oasis fans. And then, we booked the studio. Then I found out that I'd got the gig with Noel. And I thought, God, that's so weird. And then when we were there, those kind of iconic, there's like a picture of Oasis. And the double doors from Mono Valley, they're like circular glass doors with the wood.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we had a picture there in the same room. And I thought, God, it's so weird how life works sometimes. It's just bizarre.
Come full circle.
Yeah, it literally felt like
Give a little bit more. My tears are wasted inside the storm. In the middle of it all, as we lay down. There's silver lining.
The Kondoors.
Yeah.
Amazing the fact that you've got kind of the two kind of front people, if you like.
Yeah.
You and Gavin.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you compartmentalise that kind of relationship between being bandmates and husband and wife.
Well, we started that band quite a few years ago, and I'd be lying if I say it wasn't, you know, it's not easy, it's not plain sailing, it never has been, but it's actually got easier as we've gone along, because I think we've just believed in it more, and we've believed in our ability more, and we've just got better and better. And I think part of our arguments around the music was actually doubt. You know, so Gavin would say, not sure about that song, or I'd be like, don't like that lyric, or whatever. But actually, the more we've done it, the more we're like, oh, do you know what? We are good. No, we've just got to keep doing it. And when we do a gig, that's when it all comes together, and we look at each other and we're singing and we're like, God, we've done this. Like, we got this together. This is amazing. And it only makes our marriage stronger. So it's quite a complicated thing, because, yeah, on paper it should be a complete nightmare. And sometimes it is. You know, songwriting process can be difficult because we're so honest with each other. You know, I'll write a song like, yeah, that's fucking great. And Gab will be like, it's fucking, oh, shit. You know, and vice versa.
How do you, if you had disagreement about music, how do you park that and not let that kind of bleed into your, like, evening if you're sitting in front of the telly?
Well, sometimes it does. Sometimes it does bleed into it. Sometimes it's like, well, what's the point? And then actually, we might play it back and think, oh, that's actually quite good. Or we might be like, let's try that. And then that works. Sometimes we'll just come back to it after a week. You know, there's one song we've got called Mr. Rain.
True.
That took ages to write. Ages, because we're like, no, it's not right. No, that's shit, no. And then eventually we're like, yeah. And we kind of get on this flow, and then it works. It's like from there, we're like, yes, that works. That really works.
So what advice would you give to two people working in a business together who, you know, if there is times that where you kind of having a dispute about what you're trying to achieve from a business point of view, how do you then park that? And then it's difficult. I mean, look at families. I mean, look at Liam and Noel. I mean, come on.
It's really difficult. It's difficult. I think you have to balance being honest with kindness, because you could be too honest and hurt that person's feelings. But then, if you're not honest enough then that can also get you into trouble. So it's about balancing honesty with being empathic with that person and saying, you know, I hear what you're saying, but maybe we should try it like this. I mean, actually, I need to listen to this advice because sometimes I'll just go in like, no, that's shit, you know, or no, I don't think that is what we should be doing. But actually, I should be kinder. And I think, yeah, talking, just communication. Don't hold it in, but don't go too far. It's all about balance.
When I've seen you guys play live, you do one of the bravest things, which is you introduce this song called Forgiveness.
Yeah.
And whenever you describe what this song is about, there's kind of like a collective sharp intake of breath from the audience.
Yeah.
When you introduce it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of within that tension that kind of the beauty lies. I wonder if you could tell us a bit about that very brave song that you wrote between you.
Yeah, I got together with my friend, the amazing Anna Krantz. She's a great songwriter, great singer-songwriter. And I wrote this song maybe, 9 years ago with her. And I remember I came into the room with her and I said, God, Gavin and I are going through some really hard times. And basically, I'd been away. This has been really honest. I went away on a tour for quite a long time with another band. And I had an affair. And Gavin knows about it and we dealt with it. But it was about that because I couldn't deal with it anymore. I didn't know what to do. I had to write about it. And then initially, at that point, I was a solo artist. And then when someone suggested that Gavin and I sing it together, I thought, oh my God, this is so weird. But by that point, Gavin knew what it was about. And so it's actually quite amazing that he sings that knowing what it's about, because it's pretty fucked up.
You've sung that song many times.
Yeah.
And, you know, being a musician, you wrote also songs 9 years ago and performed them for a long time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do it becomes, like there's a risk of it just becoming kind of a bit of a habit and kind of autopilot, if you like, when you perform. But I can't imagine it can ever be like that about that particular song when you're singing it with Gavin. Like, I can imagine that's like...
Actually, you know what, that's a really good point, because I think the songs that we write together, or I've written with Anna, or we've written with other people, because they're so close to our hearts, because they're about such sensitive subjects, there's still such a lot of feeling behind them. So it doesn't feel like work, or it doesn't feel like, oh, fuck, this song again. I mean, maybe if we went on a big tour and we were doing it night after night after, maybe, yeah, it'd be like, oh. But it's still kind of fun and exciting still. So it doesn't feel like that yet. I'm not saying it won't, but it doesn't feel like that yet.
Get excited by the smallest thing, or the melody in my head. You were the only song I could sing. Came along and changed my tune. And I hardly feel a thing.
When you played our night here at the StageLeft Nights Supper Club thing, you did this song called Postcards, and then you introduced that, told us what it was about, and it's kind of alluded to in my intro, like there was like at least 3 or 4 people who were like choked up and crying in the room. And I remember Vinny got up and gave you a high five. Do you remember?
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, because it was like, yeah, you made my partner cry.
Yeah,
it was my Christmas present, which is amazing. Yeah. So, tell us about that song if you're happy to share.
We wrote this song because we were going through a lot of grief at the time. My grandmother had died, I think it was about 3 years ago. And then Gavin's granddad died, and it was within a week of each other. We just couldn't believe it. My grandmother died suddenly. Gavin's granddad died of complications with dementia. So we just were going through this grief, and it came really naturally, actually, that song. Normally there's a bit of toing and froing and arguing, but that song, it was almost like they were watching and it like flowed through us or something. It was really weird. But I came up with this riff and we wrote around it, and it's about them kind of looking down on us and sort of, you know, as we're growing up and going through this stuff, you're there for us, and we're writing stuff and like sending it to you, postcards to the sky, you know. And then about 2 years ago, Gavin's dad died very suddenly, and it was just before High Flying Birds did that thing in Liverpool for the Sports Personality of the Year.
Yeah.
And so, yet again, it's like that song then became even more emotional. So anytime we did that song, we'd just start welling up. And actually the first line that I sing, sometimes I can't even get the note out. It's difficult to sing it, but yeah, that's what it's about.
You do this really amazing thing in your vocals between you, which is sometimes you will sing the lower range,
yeah,
and Gav sings the kind of harmony.
Yeah.
So you do that on Mr. Rain really nicely. It
Yeah.
sounds so good. I love that. Like, was that a conscious decision? Because normally, in inverted commas, the female would sing the harmony or the higher range.
Maybe. Sometimes I think, oh God, I don't want to sing that high. And Gav's got quite a high voice. And I like the tone of my voice when I sing lower. So sometimes it's a conscious decision, other times it's not. It just sounds good.
It sounds really unique.
Yeah.
It sounds really, really good.
I mean, you'd be amazed the amount of people that are like, who's singing that bit? Is that Gavin or you?
And you stretch your voices really well,
Yeah.
especially on Forgiveness. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that like kind of little stretch before
Yeah,
it goes.
yeah.
It's like really, really nice. How do you choose the keys to sing in to best suit your voices? Because you naturally have quite different ranges.
Yeah.
So like, that must be an interesting...
That's a really good question, because I just start playing something on the piano and then it just seems like I can sing it nicely there. I don't sort of think, right, I'm going to write a song in F. Yeah, it just kind of works that way. And sometimes we're like, oh God, we shouldn't have written it in this key.
Really?
Oh God, it's too high. Yeah.
And do you drop it sometimes for live performances?
Yeah.
Just don't tell anyone.
We have done that, yeah. Or get the band to play it at like a semitone lower, a tone lower.
Sensible,
Yeah.
sensible.
Yeah.
So you recently went to Nashville, I believe, to do
Yes.
some new recordings.
Yes,
Tell
yeah.
us all about that. It looked very exciting.
Well, it was amazing, and we went for three and a half weeks. We'd got this contact from this producer, a songwriter that I knew over here, who got us in touch with this amazing producer called Ray Kennedy. And funnily enough, I met his wife way before I knew that we were going to go to Nashville. I met his wife, Siobhan, who lives in Nashville. But when we went over with Noel, Siobhan came to the gig because she knows Chris and Mickey.
Right,
the
okay.
Guitar tech. And so I met her backstage. Anyway, once I knew we were going to be working with Ray, we went over and we had 2 songs that we knew we were going to record, and then we stayed in this amazing songwriter's house, this guy called Gary Nicholson. Gary is a multi-Grammy-winning songwriter and lives in this big house. And the first night, when we first got there, they were doing some cruise. So we stayed there on our own, just jet-lagged to fuck. We were just so jet-lagged, just kind of falling asleep at 7 o'clock. And then when Gary came back, the first night, it was like, he kind of got his guitar and we went downstairs in his basement. He's got a studio in his basement, this amazing studio. I kind of sat at the Rhodes.
Nice.
And we wrote this little song, and I was just like, yet again, one of these moments like, thank you, God. This is so nice. This is just, and it was so relaxed and calm, and I didn't feel pressure. You know, sometimes you go to songwriting sessions with, you know, big songwriters, and there's a pressure. It's got to be on Radio 1. It's got to be a hit. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. But this was just so nice. And then we spent the next week kind of writing songs and meeting people, and it was just so nice, and everyone was so welcoming, and we just felt so grateful to be there. And then we actually recorded the tracks the day before we left. And there was such a pressure to get it done. Right. Actually, no, I tell a lie. It was 2 days before we left. Then we did some of the vocals the day before we left. And that was quite stressful, but it was all on really like old vintage gear, really old vintage mics. There was like one of the mics we were using, there was only like 5 in the world or something. Ray collects all this incredible gear.
Wow, nice.
Paul would be in his element. And it was just wonderful. And we got the most incredible musicians, or Ray got these amazing musicians to come down. This guy called Matt Rollings, who plays Hammond and piano. And Matt plays with Mark Knopfler, he's MD for Alison Krauss.
Wow.
I mean, he's just incredible. And this guy called Craig Young on bass. Craig played on all those big Lady Antebellum, like Need You Now, that track, Lady Antebellum. He played with Elton John, he's played with Earth, Wind and Fire. He's just played with incredible people. And then a guy called Kenny Vaughan, who was on guitar. And then a guy called Lynn Williams. They're all like Nashville kind of legends. And just amazing. And we did it live, so we were all in the same room. There was no like vocal booth isolation. It was just like, let's go.
Really?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
So there must... Oh, okay, that's really interesting.
It was like, these are the songs, this is what we got to play. In fact, one of the songs...
No shield separating you?
No.
And you recorded vocals like that as well?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
We did have to overdub some of them.
Yeah.
But it was just an incredible experience. And we also spent a couple of days with other songwriters in other parts of Nashville, but that was just brilliant. And we've been doing our crowdfunder. We've been doing our crowdfunder to try and raise money to try and pay Ray back, basically. Because what happened was, we did it via Pledge Music. Pledge Music is basically in the shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I know a few people in affected
Terrible
by that.
what happened.
Fuck.
Yeah. They owed so much money to people.
Did people get their money back? Or, like...
Luckily, what happened was, we were in Nashville and I started getting videos from people saying, look what's happening to Pledge.
Oh.
We were halfway through, I think, maybe three quarters of the way through. And what happens is they don't take your money if you haven't reached your target. So we hadn't reached our target when this stuff started to happen. But we were hoping that we'd reach it, obviously, by the time we started recording, which we would have done had Pledge not gone under. So what happened was, people stopped pledging, and then Pledge made it difficult for people to pledge in the first place. So we were like, well, shit, what are we going to do? So Gav had to ask his mum to give him some money to pay for this whole thing. And it was really embarrassing. And then we've moved it over to crowdfunder.co.uk. And
they've gone under.
No, hopefully not. Hopefully not. But
so,
yeah,
so you're on Crowdfunder. That's where
we're on crowdfunder.co.uk. We've got 10 days left.
Get behind it, everyone.
Please get behind it.
Cool. This is kind of an interesting question for you to kind of reflect on. I think in regards to, you went all the way to Nashville to do that.
Yeah.
Apart from the musicians and the parts they played on.
Yeah. What difference does it make?
How different do you think that record would have been if you'd stayed here?
Nashville's got a certain sound, and they work in a certain way. And there was just something about working with new musicians, because I know a lot of musicians, not to sound like I'm blowing my own trumpet, but I've worked in the UK music scene for years. I know a lot of musicians.
Yep.
And there's amazing musicians, but there's something about going over there to a place where it's like everyone's obsessed with it. They're obsessed with music. And I kind of like the challenge of going over there, people not knowing the songs and just playing them. And that's what you get. And initially we actually wanted to go to Memphis and do it there.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah, but we didn't get the chance to do it. But we wanted to go to Memphis. We almost worked with a guy called Dan Penn, who's like a legend, and he wrote like Do Right Woman, Aretha Franklin, Dark End of the Street, like legend. But we couldn't make it work. But it was just an incredible experience, and we're really happy with the result. So that'll be our EP, and we've also done our album. So we've got things sort of to release over the next...
Any dates yet?
July, we're going to release our first single from the EP.
Cool.
And that's really exciting. and yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah.
July.
Yeah, July.
Cool. Any favourite encounters at the gigs at festivals, or any funny stories? And I'll probably edit out that question because it's like, oh, tell us funny stories.
Yeah, yeah.
But like any classic stories that you think I want to include that in?
Probably after the gig in LA, that was a really great party that we had, and I met Bradley Cooper. I met Clem.
Fandango? No, sorry.
Clem Fandango.
Of course I can hear you. You met fucking Clem Fandango. That's amazing.
That would be amazing.
So much better than Bradley Cooper.
Not Bradley Walsh. Bradley Cooper.
Yeah. So who's this Clem? Which Clem?
From Blondie, the drummer.
Oh right, okay, fine, right.
Clem.
Okay, yeah.
What's his surname?
Oh fuck. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Met him, and also Lars from Metallica was there.
Oh yeah, he loves Noel, I think, doesn't he?
He's
He loves
obsessed
Oasis,
with Noel and loves If I Had a Gun.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's one of his favourite songs of all time.
Bloody hell.
I think that was almost his first dance or something at his wedding.
Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And Bradley Cooper has kind of cited Noel as like giving him a kind of few tips for that. What was that?
Star is Born.
Star is Born.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Well, I know Noel went to see it with Bradley Cooper.
Yeah. And I think Bradley Cooper kind of cited saying, "Oh, Noel kind of gave us some tips of how to be a rock star." So there you go. I haven't seen the film, but
no, I haven't
it's
seen
quite
it.
Good. And Rod Stewart. Did you once play with Rod Stewart?
I sang with Rod Stewart.
Did you?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I sang with Rod Stewart on a TV show as part of a small choir.
Nice.
Yeah.
What song was it? Can you remember?
I can't remember the name of the song. It was called something like
Maggie May.
There's a lyric in it it's got like and this good old fashioned English way or something.
Okay.
But he was actually really cool, and I remember one of the things he said was, he said, top tip, ladies, never eat a curry before you do a gig. So yeah, good top tip there from Rod.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
And did you do Andy Murray's wedding?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Gavin and I were singing with this band, and we got booked to play at this wedding in Scotland, and we found out it was Andy Murray's wedding, and it was just beautiful. The venue, the people. It wasn't like a big kind of celeb who's who, like flashy sort of. It was just so nice. And
well, I think Tim Henman came though.
Oh, Tim Henman, yeah, he was there. Tim was there, and Judy Murray was there, obviously.
But it was more of a family kind of thing.
It just felt really nice, and he was really sweet, and all this stuff about him being grumpy, he's just quite shy, I think.
Yeah.
It's just sweet. It was lovely.
It was good.
Yeah.
What was their first dance? Did you sing on their first dance?
What was their first dance? I feel like it was an Ed Sheeran song. God, I might be wrong. I think it was Ed Sheeran. It might have been what's that song called? Thinking Out Loud.
Oh.
Yeah.
There you go. Classic. To some. And what's the biggest technical thing that's gone wrong at a live show with Noel? And how did you guys deal with it?
Oh, technical thing. Oh God, I can't remember. I mean, I remember once Chris wasn't there on the drum kit when we were supposed to. He might have gone to the toilet or something happened. We're like, "Where's Chris?" Like he didn't know that we were going back on, or something happened. But technical thing, maybe something to do with a loop or some kind of plug-in or playback thing or something that didn't happen. I can't really think, to be honest. We would have just carried on regardless. Maybe there might have been something actually where we'd stopped and all laughed and then did it again. That might have happened once.
Sounds like a tight ship. Then in
Very
that case.
tight ship.
Yeah. So earlier we kind of asked you to describe words about other members of the band.
Yeah.
What do they think? What do you think they would say about you and what you bring to the party?
Well, I know Gem, because Gem once chatted to my parents and said, Jess, she's just fitted so well with him. She's one of the lads, kind of thing.
Oh.
Yeah, which is really sweet. What would they think? They would probably think that I'm Professional.
Modest.
They probably think that I'm cool, like I just get on with it, and I don't think I'm a pain in the arse.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that they all think I'm a friend, because I love them. I think they're all amazing people, each and every one of them. And I'm, if I could take anything away from this incredible gig, it's the friendship that I've made with all those guys and girls.
When you're in a band and you're in a rehearsal room, there's sometimes there's individuals in the room who's like, I love doing that song. Like there's a particular one song that I really love doing. What is the song that Noel loves doing the most, and what is the song that you love doing the most?
I don't know with Noel.
Is there one that's like, I can't listen to that again?
No. I think he probably just enjoys all of them. I think he gets a lot of joy out of playing the new songs, the stuff that he's done, on the last album, because it's such a jump from his old stuff. I think he gets a lot of pleasure out of that. So probably those songs. I think he likes Dead in the Water. It's a beautiful song.
It's such a beautiful song. Such a great song.
For me, I really like singing If I Had a Gun. I also like, Wonderwall. Every time we do Wonderwall, I get goose pimples all over me. What other songs do I enjoy? Whatever's Cool. That's a good one.
So the string part on that is very prominent, but I don't think Noel actually has the string part. I
think there are strings. Mike plays them.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, there are some there.
This is maybe a question you don't know the answer to, but pretty much my favourite kind of song that Noel done on the last record was the title track of the album, So Who Built the Moon, or The Man Who Built the Moon.
Yeah.
And I think you only played that once or twice. Why was that? Russ's bass sounded so badass on it. It was fucking great, and you only kind of pulled it out a couple of times at the end, and that was it. It seemed a shame.
Maybe Noel felt it didn't work, or maybe he felt like he could throw in something that would get the crowd more excited or something. There'd be a reason for it.
Had you rehearsed? Okay, so it wasn't, because it sounded so apocalyptic, sounded amazing. But I wondered if it was something you'd rehearsed earlier on and didn't quite work, and then dropped it, and then came back to it. Or...
Yeah, and sometimes that will happen. We'll rehearse a load of tunes, and then, sometimes we'll add one in, and then we'll try it out a few times. Sometimes Noel will keep it in. Sometimes we'll take it out. I think it just depends on how he's feeling it's all going, how the set runs. Sometimes the set will change, sometimes it stays the same. Sometimes he'll add in, sometimes he'd throw in Supersonic.
Yeah, nice.
And we didn't know if he was going to do it or not, and then he'd just do it, and it's just amazing.
Do you do something on Supersonic?
No.
Yeah, he just does it with
just
Mikey,
him,
right?
yeah.
Nice.
And sometimes we don't know he's going to do it, and he just starts it, and just that buzz that the crowd get. I love that moment when he does that.
Awesome.
It's brilliant.
You need to find a way for what you want to say. But before tomorrow, when my friend said he'd take you home, sits in a corner all alone. He lives under a waterfall when nobody can see him, nobody can ever hear him.
Last few questions then, and this is quite a very specific one to you, but so you're vegan, what are the challenges around touring different parts of the world, or do you get caterers just get whatever, we make our, your Diva, your blue M&M's stuff?
It depends on the country we're in. Europe can be quite hard.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where else was really difficult? Russia was
I was going to
difficult.
say, how was Moscow? Yeah.
Very difficult. But in the UK, the catering is ridiculous. Popcorn catering, big up Popcorn Catering.
Okay.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
We'll have all kinds of things. There's always vegan options. Sometimes they'll even do a vegan dessert, which is bonus. If you can get a vegan dessert, then happy days. It's going to be a good gig on my part if I've got vegan dessert.
Okay.
What else?
Listen up, lady.
Yeah, listen up. Where else? Actually, you know what? In Brazil, the catering was very good. America's amazing for vegan food.
Yeah. So Europe, that was really. So what, I mean, is it down to you to have to go and go to the
On
shops
days
and
off, I've got an app on my phone called Vanilla Bean.
Okay.
And it just tells you all the vegan places around you.
Oh, amazing!
It's life changing. That place. But otherwise, I'm not that fussy. If all I can eat is chips, I'll eat chips.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And let's talk about intimate gigs. So you played our StageLeft Nights event here, where literally you're kind of you had dinner with us, and then after everyone's had a few drinks, fourth and fifth course, you kind of pull your chair back a little bit and then literally perform to us. Nothing's plugged in.
Yeah.
How do you find nights like that? And what are the challenges around nights like that?
It's quite nerve-wracking. The challenges are you see every single person in that room. You can see how they're reacting. And if you make a mistake, because there's only two of us, it's really obvious. So when I'm on stage with Noel, if my voice goes "ugh" like that, no one's going to hear it. But in that situation, everybody's going to hear it. So then it makes me think, God, I'm not very good. So
and the voice comes again.
Yeah,
and the voice comes back.
Yeah.
Interesting. And sorry, we've got Chef Davila next to us here. What was the food like?
Unbelievable. Delicious.
And we're going to do another one with you in October, yeah?
Can't wait.
Cool, good stuff. What's your favourite piece of music memorabilia that you've kept hold of? So if the house was burning down and everyone was safe, your dog was safe, Gav was safe, what have you got that you really want to hold on to?
There's actually one thing that I've got, but I can't find it, and it's actually really worrying me. It's a poster from the last tour, and I got every single person from the whole tour to sign it.
Oh.
And I don't know where it is. And it's this piece of artwork that a fan drew in South America of this big eagle. And I wanted to frame it because we've just moved house, and I was like, I want to frame this poster, where is it? And I can't find it. It's in my head in. So that's one thing. And also the tour book of the whole last year. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, just look at that and I just think, I can't believe I've done all that. So that's pretty incredible.
How do you think you'll reflect back 30 years from now on this very moment in your career? So fast forward 30 years, imagine what you'll be doing and then kind of reflecting back. How do you think you'll reflect back on this very moment in your career?
I'll just feel like I'm one of the luckiest people ever. I just feel so grateful to be given that opportunity. And I think I'll feel really proud of myself that I worked so hard and did so much crap over the years to then be able to have that opportunity. Like, all my hard work paid off. So I think I'll feel grateful, and I think I'll feel love towards all those people that I met, and I think I'll feel, it will be a really special thing and something that I can pass down to my kids, my grandkids, and say, look, this is what I did. Yeah.
Particularly as everything's captured these days. So
everything is captured.
So there'll be plenty of evidence.
Loads of evidence.
We've had people on the... we had a guy, like 6th episode, who was in Elvis Presley's band for quite a while. But there's no video footage, and so one of the reasons he wanted to come on the podcast was like, some people kind of don't believe me that I ever played.
Yeah.
And like some of his, he actually went through a really bad breakup, and he kind of talked about it in the podcast, but went through a bad breakup, and his partner, his wife, then kind of spiked him, destroyed everything, all his memorabilia to prove that he played with Elvis. And so there are like a lot of people who had these amazing experiences and they've got no kind of evidence, so at least everything's been captured now that you can kind of show your grandkids and that kind of thing. So okay, so what's coming next then? So you're going on tour with Smashing Pumpkins
in America,
which is going to be fucking incredible.
Incredible. I think we're doing like big, because last time we did America we did the theatres, but I think now they're going to be like, much bigger venues, so that's really exciting. And we're going to places we didn't go to before.
Cool.
Still LA and New York. I think San Francisco we're going to. It's so exciting. So that's on the cards. Obviously the Palladium. Never played the Palladium.
That's going to be, I'm going to be there. It's going to be fucking amazing.
Oh, amazing. You're going to be there?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's going to be awesome.
Good.
So that's going to be a great night.
Yeah.
I think probably Noel has probably played most venues in London, but I don't think he's definitely never played the Palladium.
No, I don't think
so
he's
it's
ever
like
done the Palladium.
Another one to kind of tick off the list. And what are you most looking forward to over the next kind of 6 months?
I'm looking forward to, obviously, the gigs. I'm also looking forward to releasing our single, Kondoors single. I'm looking forward to writing more, and yeah, just spend time with people that I love, and yeah, I'm excited about it. Doing up my house.
Awesome. Let us know how you get on with that.
I will.
Most important thing in the next 6 months. Sod the Smashing Pumpkins. Let's get that bedroom Let's get that bedroom redecorated.
Yeah.
Okay. So so thanks so much, Jess, for appearing on the StageLeft podcast. You've performed on songs that mean an enormous amount to an enormous amount of people, and thanks to bootlegs and YouTube that we kind of just mentioned, those will be watched and listened to probably for generations to come. So in between the madness, make sure you take time out to give yourself a well-deserved pat on the back as you're living the dream, and good luck with the Nashville project, the upcoming tour, and thanks for being such a great guest on the StageLeft podcast.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Shall we eat?
Let's eat.
Let's eat.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. 'Cause your destiny will keep you warm. When all of the stars are fading away, try not to worry. You'll see them.
So that was Jess of Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds and the Kondoors. Thanks so much to Jess for coming over. We had a really, really great night in the end. Ended up staying till quite late actually, and talking all sorts of interesting music stuff. And she's going to be doing, as you say, another one of our StageLeft Nights events later on in the year. If you want to keep in the loop of that, you want to go over to our Instagram. So we've got 2 accounts, so it's the StageLeft Podcast, but also check out StageLeft_Nights on Instagram, where you'll see all the photos and videos of the evenings that we've been having. Also on Facebook at facebook.com/StageLeft Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at the StageLeft Pod, and all the episodes of the StageLeft Podcast, where you'll find Russ Pritchard, Mikey Rowe, Gem Archer, Paul Gallagher, Christian Madden, Dan McDougall, Tony Visconti, Steve Cropper, Stewart Lee, Damon Minchella, Richard Fortas, and about another 40 other episodes for you to enjoy. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.